rude.
So much fear in the room, but here we are again.
So much fear in the room, and do you know why that is? Liverpool season has been derailed. Welcome back, everybody. We are back. Gary,
there is no quadruple.
I'm delighted. I couldn't be standing.
Hence, I'm wearing green tonight to honor Plymouth Argyle and also to celebrate the Philadelphia Eagles beating the Kansas City Chiefs last night. So.
Super Bowl.
Yeah, my second passion away from fantasy football and
is the other
soccer
fantasy
as
football.
yes, away from soccer, as my American cousins would say, is NFL. I am currently running on about 2.5 hours sleep last night because I was up watching, and but also I was also drowning my sorrows because my beloved Liverpool can't do a quadruple this year.
I mean, first off, I'd like to point out that dramatically underslept and emotionally battered is the perfect time. So, question, lads, because I feel this one should probably go to Gary, but John, I'm sure you can jump in here, right?
Yes.
I have been learning things about the beautiful game, and Liverpool are like an up here team. Like they're an up here team. They're very good, or they have been all season, which is why their name goes at the top of the list.
Yes.
Gary, could you tell me if this box that I'm in here represents the Premier Championship, where are Plymouth Argyle?
I tell you what, Jimmy, if you take your hand and just keep lowering it down, and I will tell you when to stop. You can keep going.
Maybe promotion?
No. Keep going. Oh, no.
They're at the bottom of the championship.
They're at the bottom. To give you some context,
third manager of the season.
To give you context, out of the 4 top leagues in England, so that's the Premier League, the Championship, League One, and League Two, Plymouth Argyle have conceded the most goals of any team this season.
But not any team. Because they didn't concede any against
Liverpool. But they kept a clean sheet against Liverpool. Yeah.
Right.
And the scenes of the celebration, to be honest, are iconic. That guy who scored the goal had the best day of his fucking existence, dropping the F-bomb on live TV, scoring the goal, just inciting the fans at full time. Beautiful stuff. But what I will say is they've been having a mare of a season. They sacked Wayne Rooney. They fired a manager, hired Wayne Rooney, fired him after like 13 odd games, and they're onto this new guy who I don't know who he is.
He's a Serbian lad. I think he came from the Serbian league. Has put a bit of steel into them. I don't watch much Championship football, to be fair. This is where Dermot would come in, with being a Leeds fan. But look, I will openly admit I love the FA Cup more than I love watching the FA Cup more than I love watching Premier League football. I love cup football. I love the cut and thrust of knockout football. I think it just adds a different element.
Jeopardy.
And had it been any other team yesterday, I would have been delighted. But the magic of the cup is alive and well when you see someone like Plymouth Argyle knocking Liverpool out, and deservedly so.
Yeah.
There's I'm not going to sit here and whinge about how we were robbed or Liverpool were the better team or anything like that. If anyone watched the game, they will openly admit Plymouth were the better team.
Plymouth were better, which
deserves. But this doesn't come. There was a lot of.
Did play a bunch of kids, and I think it's fair
to
say.
No, they didn't. No, they didn't.
Well, they played a few lads that needed minutes in the tank, like Keza, but whatever.
Hang on, John. Hang on.
Is it not?
It's
hang on. Let's just go back there for a second, right? And again, I should probably not be saying this because I'm a Liverpool fan, and I should be looking for excuses why we've been beaten by a team that's 40 odd places below us. But you look at that team that went out from the start. There were 7 internationals in that team, right? 7 full internationals in that team. That does not include Harvey Elliott or Jarrell Kwanzaa, who are both our Premier League experienced players. Now, Kwanzaa is muck. I thought he was going to be the next Virgil van Dijk. He's not. He's muck. He's the next Jimmy Traore. But there were 7 full internationals in that team, plus two more players who have Premier League experience. Chiesa is a European Championship winner with Italy. Endo has played in the Champions League. Tsimikas has played in the Champions League. Luis Diaz and Jota started up front. There was more than enough quality in that team to beat Plymouth. They had an off day. That's fine. But I won't hear what I can't understand is the amount of talk there is in the media about how it was the youngsters who played. He played two youngsters. I have the team in front of me here. He played Nani, who was actually played in he actually has Premier League experience this year. I think he has minutes in there from the bench. He's also been really, really present in the Carabao Cup. And James McConnell, who has been in and around the first team for the last couple of seasons as well. So he is a youngster, but he has a bit of experience. There was a lot of quality in that team. They got played off the park. They got kicked up and down the place. This is what happens when you go to places like Plymouth to play. This is what happens in the cup.
I have a maths question. We're excusing away the school bus that Liverpool played because lots of them were international players. There are 200 countries. Are you telling me Liverpool are up to the level of the top 200 clubs in the world? Because to me, being an international player probably carries less status than starting for a top 10 Premier League team.
Well, no,
in and of itself. I mean, we're not talking about 9 Brazilians here, Gary, are we? We're not talking about the Germany starting lineup.
But
I just don't think international is necessarily the kind of level of quality necessarily.
And if I was saying to you that it was a Bolivian and a Qatari and an Algerian lad playing, then I would agree with you. But Luis Diaz is Colombian, and we all know who Luis Diaz is. Jota is Portuguese. Chiesa is Italian. If you actually, I have the team in front of me here, and if I look at this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the players who started yesterday have been at some stage in somebody's team in our league. Kelleher was there, Tsimikas was there, Diaz was there, Jota was there, Harvey Elliott was there. Those 5 players, Jimmy, you've heard of.
Yeah,
and I don't mean that in a derogatory way, but
oh no, that's okay.
Me and John. If I say to you Wataru Endo, you'll probably look at me as if I have 2 heads.
Oh, he's a DM.
Well, there you go. There's another player. There's 6.
Jimmy knows football that we give him credit for.
I work in a shop full of Liverpool fans. I cannot avoid You'll Never Walk Alone. Not that I want to, because I think it's the most beautiful thing that's ever been heard anywhere near a football pitch. But so like get me going here. Like get me to where the team selection choices are made. And my understanding is between Carabao, a double game week in the Premier, the FA Cup, and is there Champions League business in there as well in this kind of 2.5 week patch?
In a 2.5, I think it was 4 to 5 games across 2.5 weeks. The reason this team, the reason the team was put out, so Salah, Gakpo, McAllister, all left in Merseyside. Van Dijk, they were all left at Anfield. They didn't even travel with the team. They stayed at home. That's fine. The reason that happened ahead of the Merseyside derby.
Mm-hmm. The double game week match.
Absolutely. The priority is the Premier League.
The double game week with another double game week coming up because of the Carabao Cup final. So there's 2.
It was rested. Yeah. There was a lot of players rested. A lot of players were rested. That's absolutely fine. It was the right thing to do. The priority is the Premier League. That's absolutely fine. Had he gone with the full squad, put the full first team 11 out and walloped Plymouth 7-0, but then lost against Everton, that would have been catastrophic.
Sure, Everton, but there might be a middle ground between that and being out of the FA Cup. I mean, look, I think he did try to find that, but I'm not sure he didn't massively imbalance it. I think that lineup, all due respect to the lads in it, maybe a little bit of experience at the core might have done well.
No,
I think a little. The biggest problem the biggest reason Liverpool were knocked out of the FA Cup yesterday was not the starting 11, it was the bench. And if you want to talk about it was the bench. And if you want to talk about youngsters in the squad, that's where the bench comes in. Núñez was on the bench. We all know who Núñez is, but again, is he the sort of player that you want on the bench to be able to turn it around? If you actually look at that centre midfield area, which is where they were played off the pitch, the only player on the bench who could have actually made a difference was Curtis Jones, and Curtis Jones is not match fit. He's openly admitting both Slot and Jones have come out and said He's not fully fit. He's still carrying a knock. So there was nobody on that bench who could make a difference.
Yeah, if they brought Salah to use him there's an argument that you could have brought a Salah to leave him on the bench and play him in the last 10 minutes if you needed to.
Correct.
But at the same stage, the argument I'm going to make here, and this is something that I'm starting to get a bit more passionate about, that it's the amount of fucking matches, lads, that the lads are playing. Like, managers are forced to make these type of decisions at the moment. Like, the lads, if you're a decent international, you could be playing 60 games in a 10-month span and you're getting 2 weeks off, 3 weeks off before you're back in the preseason. You're seeing the amount of injuries that lads are getting now. Like, look at Spurs, they're emaciated. Man United last year, emaciated. The year before that, they played a lot of games. They lost a lot of players last year. Spurs are the same. Newcastle last year were absolutely decimated with injuries. You're seeing it this year with Spurs mainly. You're seeing it with Chelsea. They've had a lot of bodies down at parts over the last 2 years.
Statistically,
no, they're
do you know who the most damaged club is?
For squad depth, because they have a different squad for Europe.
And do you know who the most injured squad is this year? The squad that has lost the most
Arsenal,
days to injury. You would say so, and you'd be wrong, my friend. By a great distance, the team whose squad has lost the most days, broken red flag, big red X, is Brighton.
Really?
Yep. By a great distance, just ahead of Spurs. I think the difference, though, is that most of their injuries are from players who would have been rotation players anyway. Whereas it's very, very visible Spurs on the pitch leaders are what they've been missing.
But this is not down to this
the game, and he just he was interviewed and he was like, we have 11 starting players out. The lads have been playing 2 games a week for the last 2.5 months. I'm not going to sit here and criticize any of the young fellas, the 17, 18-year-olds that have been out on the pitch for the last 2.5 months, and they're finally going to get a 10-day break before our next game. I can't we can't play the football. And that's why he was like, mate, they're tired. Like the lads are wrecked.
Would you like to see a chart?
I get Andrew's not going to go out and he's not going to criticize teenagers for going out and playing football, and Spurs have been playing 2 games a week because they've been in Europe. Liverpool have been playing 2 games a week for a lot of the time as well. They're also in Europe. They're also had a long run, the same as Spurs in the Carabao Cup, same as Newcastle. They're competing at a higher level in the Champions League, which would suggest it's a more intense situation than the Europa League or Conference League. I can't remember which one that Spurs is in, but it's still a less intense competition. Liverpool have not been decimated by
the lower European competitions, or more.
No, hang on. You can't. No. Look, you can't have it both ways. You can't turn and say that on one hand it's because there's a lot of football matches being played, and then on the next hand say it's because I have to sit in the plane for an extra 2 hours. No, I'm not buying that.
No, but it's like earlier this season, Roger literally had this argument. He was like, lads, we're playing too much football. 2 weeks later, bip bop done, season over. Like, boys are playing too much football. But you look at a team like Chelsea, who've gone and stacked the deck in terms of players. They have 2 separate squads, and they're doing well this season. They're doing well this season because they literally can leave Cole Palmer at home every time they go to Europe, and he's fresh for the Prem. Like Chelsea are doing. Like Chelsea are a modern football team because there's so many games. You nearly have to have 2.
I'd be interested to see how many.
And it's just too much. It's too much stress on the lads.
But have Chelsea not been hit by injuries pretty bad this year?
In recent times, yes.
5, 6, 7,
but that flies in the argument. That flies in the argument of too many games and not enough players. I mean, you've just said Chelsea have 2 squads for the different competitions, yet they're being hit by injuries pretty bad.
Gentlemen,
it might be, that doesn't stack up for me. You've got a team like Liverpool who would have 2 average squads when you take it into account. When you take all of the players into account, they wouldn't have 2 squads that they can put out in Champions League, whereas Chelsea probably do. And they're not being minced by injuries left, right, and centre. There's a certain way of handling this. I mean, if you look at the way Liverpool are training on a regular basis, and they've been open about this, it's less intense over longer periods of time. So Slot won't have an intense 90-minute session with all of his first team squad every day of the week. He'll have
Would I be correct in saying that Nottingham Forest have one of the lowest injury records in the league?
Funny you asked that, John. Guess what I'm about to put on the screen?
Yeah.
Injuries by days. Okay, this is not on the pitch. This is not severity. This makes no comment about the stature, quality, or nailed-onity of the players in question. This is just days where a player has been injured and missed game. Right at the bottom is West Ham, which sounds bizarre, but again, it's that high-profile bias. So when we see Bowen or Antonio, we think it's the whole squad. It's not.
They're
Brighton
just
at the
long
top
injuries.
just under 3 years of injuries in the last 23 weeks for Brighton, which is the best description of Brighton's season I could possibly have come up with. Spurs, no surprise there next, but look at Ipswich, look at Palace, and gentlemen, I'm going to throw an idea out there. I'm going to throw the idea out that if you're a very big club and you can afford to have a very big squad, it puts a little bit less pressure on most of the players, not the Rodris, De Bruynes, the core guys, most of the players than the smaller squads in the mid-tier teams who still have to deal with things like Europe or actually progressing in cup competitions.
You can read. Go on, John. Sorry.
Squads like Man City have been hit by injuries this season, but that's the lads have played an awful lot of football for 2 or 3 years now, going deep in European competitions with their countries as well as their clubs. But then the flip side of that, you have a team like Nottingham Forest, and the way they minimise injuries is they play a very different football to everybody else. They don't run. Like Nottingham Forest are the only team in the Premier League at the moment with, like, I think they're the bottom for the running stats, but they basically sit in, let you attack, get the ball, and get fucked up the other end. And that's how they're managing their thing. But everybody else is trying to play as well, this high octane, high press, play out from the back style of football as well.
Then you look at a team.
Yeah.
But if you look at that graph again, you look at a team like Villa, who are playing that high press, that high octane football across 3 competitions because they're still in the FA Cup and they're obviously still in the Champions League, etc. And they're doing quite well in the league as well. And what were they, sixth from the bottom of that?
The bottom, yeah. And they had some interesting company. Like there's no lack of games for Chelsea either, who are just above them.
Yeah.
So Liverpool are only middle of the pack as well.
But remember,
you could make an argument.
You have 2 squads.
Yeah.
Well, you can make an argument either way. You can make an argument that players are playing far too much football. Particularly when you look at teams like Man City, who have been hit pretty hard, and over the last few years competing on 4 fronts for the last 4 to 5 years, possibly even longer. But then you could turn around and go teams like Villa, who are doing it this season and are running the legs off teams across the Champions League, the FA Cup, and the Premier League, and they're not being hit quite as badly by injury.
Is it sustainable though, or is that going to catch up towards the end of the season when the gas runs out?
Well, that's
you do see the teams they lose. They might get knocked out of the Champions League and the FA Cup in a week, and now the arse has fallen out. The momentum, the adrenaline carrying them through is gone, and then they go get whacked 5-6 weeks on the trot.
Maybe, but then on the flip side,
United when they were on a run under him, job got confirmed, and then they went to shit for the end of that season because the momentum had fallen out from under their arse. Jesus Christ, who was it? Was it Wigan won the FA Cup and got relegated in the same season?
In the same season. Yeah. And look, maybe this is a conversation to be had closer to the end of the season when things are played out a little bit more, when we actually have a bit more information around who's still in what competition and more minutes played, etc. Possibly. But as of right now, I don't think you can definitively say that injuries are being caused by the amount of minutes that are played by a team, because there's so many arguments counter to it. There really is. Villa, as I say, I've consistently go back to them. They're a team who have played a lot of minutes this year. Palace and Ipswich. Are probably an anomaly because a lot of their players have not played at the high intensity level of the Premier League. So I get that. That's fine. It is a step up from Championship to Premier League. And they didn't strengthen that squad. Palace, a lot of those players, Palace have been in the Premier League for the last 5 to 6 seasons. All those players have Premier League experience. They understand the intensity. They are not in Europe. They have got domestic competitions, but have been knocked out. Obviously in the Carabao. I think they play tonight.
Yeah, but
they're playing tonight in the FA Cup. But they still have.
Palace also have a lot of players who are quite injury prone It just seems to be a thing. They've a lot. I suppose
But this is my point. There's so many different variables to this.
Yeah.
You've squads who are injury prone. You've got time. The minutes that are being played. How you actually manage those players. In different training sessions, etc. What your medical staff is like. I mean, who was it? Was it United at one point last year when they brought in somebody, or possibly Arsenal when they brought in a new medical doctor from a different club, and they just got absolutely ripped out of it with injuries.
Arsenal.
Purely because it was a different way of handling the medical treatments that players weren't used to. There's so many different variables.
Yes, Jimmy.
Palace, by the way, have just gone 1-up against Doncaster in the 4th round of the FA Cup. So
nice.
Good for them.
Good for them. Gary, I concede. Fine. There's not too much football, even though I absolutely hate the new European Cup formats and the Nations League. I am a purist in a sense. I hate the Nations League.
Probably
not like the new Champions League. Bring it back to my day. I'm getting old.
I would agree with you. I would agree. I don't like the new Champions League format, but that is probably a different conversation to be had. But yeah, that's probably the only argument I'll ever win against you, John. To be fair.
No, my friend.
I think if we're going to discuss the format of the Champions League, we should do it on a panel that has more people who understand what the Champions League is for.
No, nobody understands the new Champions League format. So the more people you have, the more confusing that conversation will get because nobody has a clue. But what I do want to talk about, because it's the week of love, it's Valentine's week. Friday.
Yes, Friday is such an important day. Not because it's Valentine's, because the new League of Ireland kicks off. No, I just.
I want to talk about is iconic duos in the Premier League. Those of now and those of yesteryear. Let's talk about the two duos who gave us love and cheer. See, Jimmy, I can do jingles
that
too.
That was nice. That was all right. Yeah, we'll make a poem.
I like that.
Yeah. Sutton and Shearer.
Oh,
probably the originals, actually. To be fair, they are amongst the originals in the Premier League. Good shout.
That was a good strike force. That was a good strike force before your man remembered his accent and went away home. Like they were.
Well, they were the reason they won the mid-table championship, possibly actually pushing for promotion. To be fair, the Premier League, they're 7th or 8th, I think, of the championship.
And also home of the greatest Barclays man who ever played, Morten Gamst Pedersen. Everybody will remember. The streets will never forget. He's one of those players, Jimmy.
He is a cult hero.
Players.
Yeah. Had he been around during the time of Toulouse, he was an absolute Jimmy Stalwart.
Right.
He was that sort of player. He really, really was.
I can hear the name
with one of the best left foots I've ever seen in the Premier League. To be fair, but Sutton and Shearer, there has been, but Sutton and Shearer absolutely would be. They're the reason. Chris Sutton was there when they won the league in '95, wasn't
he? He was. He transferred in from Norwich, I believe.
Yeah. I can't remember. Did he transfer in the year they won or the year after?
But, I think it might have been the year after. Yeah, and
I think
Skedaddle left. They only had a season together, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, but they were lethal. The original SAS.
Apart from the actual SAS.
Apart from the actual SAS, who are actually lethal.
They did well.
The court battle's still ongoing, so we'll let them sort that out.
They did well, but if you go fuck me, I'm just going to reel off some iconic duos: Ferdinand and Vidic, Son and Kane, Haaland and Kevin De Bruyne, Dwight Jordan and Cole.
I'm gonna take a big liverbird shaped bomb and throw it under your Ferdinand and Vidic partnership there and give you Gerrard and Torres, who scared the living bejesus out of Ferdinand and Vidic on more than
this. Let's look at best defensive partnership, best midfield partnership, and best forward partnership.
Like it.
Well, midfield is Cantona and that one Palace fan.
Fuck me.
He was about halfway down the pitch, but I think it was the greatest expression of love I've ever seen on a football pitch.
Defensive partnership for me.
Keane and Vieira.
That's a different episode, Jimmy. That's the rivalries episode.
I like it rough. Go on.
Oh man,
Gary.
Tommy Adams and Martin Keown.
Adams and Martin Keown.
That's
for you. Our favorite. defensive duo.
I'm going to let you just think about you talk about Vidic and Ferdinand because I think that's who you're going to go with. But give me a second, and I'll come back to you.
You had Terry and Carvalho. You've had Bruce and Pallister. You've had Huth and Wes Morgan. Obviously, they have to get a special mention. Lads won a league together. They have to get a special mention. Captain Morgan and Robert Huth. Actually, do you know what? I might change my answer.
You're changing your answer to Huth and Morgan, aren't you?
Ferdinand is one of the great. If you were to say Hall of Famers, Premier League, it's the two of them. Only defender to win the Player of the Year twice is Nemanja Vidic. They set the record for most consecutive games together without conceding. It's the two boys. That's all it can be. Adams and Keown have to be up there, obviously.
I'm going to throw one in there for the guys who know nothing about football but remember fantasy football. Do you remember how upset we were when they separated Dunk and Duffy?
True.
This is
true. Remember the days when you could always rely on a Brighton defence to maybe do something good? And Big Lou is still there, but I bet he misses Duffy. And it was mostly because it rhymed. If it was Dunk and Fluffy, it wouldn't have done. But Dunk and Duffy, that's iconic. 7-4.
That's okay. Yeah, agreed. I'm actually gonna go with. I'm 99% sure, and I could be wrong here, but I think Ferdinand played with Jaap Stam.
No.
Or was it Ronnie Johnson that played with Jaap Stam? Remind me.
Ronnie Johnson. Ferdinand came in 2002.
Yeah. I think
2001. I think actually.
I can't. I actually can't remember who played beside Jaap Stam. To be perfectly honest with you, and if anybody out there in Webland wants to mention who it was, to be perfectly honest with you, Stam was the greatest central defender to ever step foot on a Premier League pitch, in my opinion. So I don't care who plays beside him because that partnership just works with a player of his stature. That's who I'm going to go with for my defensive partnership. I know that's really
not Maguire and Evans, no.
Not Maguire. Phil Jones. Phil Jones.
Phil Jones on his own is the greatest part.
On his own.
Smalling and Jones, actually. There's your fantasy football one, Jimmy.
Too soon. Don't talk about Chris Smalling.
Do you want to talk about it?
Am I telling that story tonight?
Do.
Is that where this is going?
Yeah.
You know that joke about the 13th hour of the 13th day of the 13th month, yeah? I managed to lose an eliminator the day after the season had ended, after the 90th minute, because there was a season that ended with, as was tradition, everybody playing on the Sunday afternoon, so all 10 are on at the same time, and there was a bomb scare at Old Trafford. So United's game got played on, I think it was either the Monday or the Tuesday, but it was like the season was over. This was like a weird week 38 and a half thing that was going on. And this was 2014, maybe 2015. And my strategy was the iron wall, because back in those days, kids, you won't believe this, but teams frequently kept clean sheets. And little Jimmy realized that you could get good defenders, or not even good defenders on good teams, and just hoover up all the clean sheet points, even if your strikers don't score. So at one point, I think I was playing like 6 defenders at the back. We can't do that anymore. Oh, how the game has changed. And the most reliable man I had was Chris Smalling of Man United. And I was a point ahead at the 90th minute of that game, right? And what happened next was, after United had already effectively won the game, they were 3-1 up or 3-0 up. No, it was 3-1 because there was no clean sheet. They couldn't get into Europe. They couldn't qualify for anything. Whoever they were playing couldn't get into Europe and couldn't qualify for anything. The game was over. The match was over. The result was pointless. The league was fucking over. And Chris Smalling, with the precision of an F-14 Raptor and the power of an Abrams tank, slid in and fucking pounded the ball into the back of his own net, picking me up a -2 and winning Mert the Eliminator. So do not speak to me of Chris Smalling.
You might be the player who's lost the most finals in iconic fashion in our league. You've had the Mateta, the Chris Smalling.
Something always goes wrong.
One that I'm not remembering. There was probably something with George Boyd because you had a thing for him.
Look, I'm from the 80s, and in the 80s, the bad guy has to lose at the last minute. That's just the rule. I don't make the rules. Well, I do, but I didn't make this rule. And I'm okay with my black cape and my twiddly black moustache and my top hat, but it's not a top hat tonight. Oh no,
it's not a top hat tonight.
No.
But we'll get there.
We'll get into that.
Midfield partners. Midfield.
I think you're going to start off with Vieira and Petit.
It's obviously Keane and Scholes for me. You are going to have Gerrard and Alonso in that conversation. You're going to have Kante and Danny Drinkwater, Leicester in there. You're going to have
Vieira and Petit.
Roberto Silva.
No. Vieira and Gilberto Silva. No. Vieira and Emmanuel Petit. Yeah. Take Gilberto Silva completely out of that conversation, please.
It was late.
Yeah. No. Petit, Vieira and Petit would be a distant second to Keane and Scholes. There's no discussion to be had. Roy Keane has
it's output, isn't it? It's like it's what they got out of their time on the pitch for themselves and everyone around them. They won fucking everything like 3 times.
They won fucking everything. They complemented each other.
Champions League, sorry, Gary.
As in,
that Alonso Gerrard access, if they won a Premier League,
would be part of the conversation.
I think that's the only reason why I can't pick them is because they didn't win a Premier League.
The other piece still to consider there as well.
In the Premier League, though, like there's no real midfield duos for me right now in the Premier League that you go, that's an engine together. Maybe Joe Linton and Bruno.
You see, the problem now is that it's not just 2 midfielders in your engine room. Back in the days of Petit and Vieira and Scholes and Keane, maybe Nicky Butt in there instead of one of them when they rotated, etc., etc.
They're a team, so we can have a throuple if we want.
Excellent. Well, then I'm throwing in, you have Gerrard, Alonso, and Mascherano in that conversation.
Mascherano was an animal, man.
And if you look, he was a demon. But if you look at the moment, and teams at the moment playing, you've Tonali for Newcastle with Joe Linton and Bruno. If we're talking threesomes,
I think you're elevating Tonali a bit there now, based both on results and
for me that's Joe Linton. And
no, Bruno. Just in this, and if we're talking just in current season and a midfield 3, they would absolutely have to be up there. For me, the best midfield 3 is probably Gravenberch, McAllister, and Szoboszlai.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, I know.
Oh my god.
But is part of the trouble with midfield like the constantly redefining thing that's going on? Because as far as I can tell, like, okay, stop me when I go completely wrong here, okay? I remember a nailed back 4 under what you call him, the special fella, the Portuguese lad. Jose, same 4 guys at the back every week, right? United that year, same 4 at the back every week. Arsenal, same 4 at the back every week. Things were a bit more static and a bit more traditional, and I think possibly what we consider a midfielder now has changed. What with all of this thing that Pep has his right backs running in to be a second DM, so their other DM can go up and pivot, so that their AM can go off and be a striker, so that there's not everybody seems to be moving away from the middle of the pitch. Everything seems to be moving away from the middle of the pitch. It seems to be very much like
you need to win. That's why they play 3 in there.
Sure, I get that, but they don't seem to stick around in there. The ball doesn't seem to live there very long.
No, what you want, you try to win the midfield, get it to your wingers, attack. That's
the more bodies you have in the middle of the pitch, the more chance you have of winning the ball.
Okay,
that's the logic, but it has changed.
Defensive thing, then
I think
it has changed.
Traditionally, defensively, you want to be compact. Condense everything, get the ball inside. When you're trying to attack, you're trying to expand the pitch, make the pitch as wide as possible, pull as many of their players out of position. What like a Mourinho team used to do very well, what a Conte team used to do very well. I think Mourinho is actually one of the greatest as this. You'd see actually, fuck that. Diego Simeone's Atleti team are the best in the world I've ever seen at that. They go 1-0 up and then you just go, they're not conceding. The 4 defenders like Lego blocks just go, that's what we do now.
Right.
And it's amazing to watch. It's horrible football for the next 70-odd minutes, but Mourinho's teams
it's successful. Yeah, but that whole midfield piece has completely, it has completely changed. if you look at teams like you're right, Jimmy. The Pep is probably the big one. I Klopp did it last year with Trent to a certain degree. But then you look back over the last couple of years and you look at Brighton with McAllister and Caicedo, who literally had just those two in the middle and just sat there and protected everything.
Rice and Suchek.
So absolutely. So while it has evolved into that 3-person midfield and you can rotate around with the fourth one coming in from the fullback and whatnot, that's not to say your traditional 2 sitting defensive midfielders breaking up everything and letting your forward attackers just go and do what they do best. That does work. It worked really well for Brighton the year they got into Europe.
Yeah, the old WM business under De Zerbi, wasn't it?
It was
front and W at the back. Yeah. I'm learning.
But there's a great partnership as well though for you, Caicedo and McAllister.
That was actually quite good. Yeah, I quite
just
that.
a shame that Moses went to Chelsea and not Liverpool. But sure, look, his loss.
Bloody Brighton's loss.
True.
Jimmy, some clubs are selling clubs. It's okay.
The dream will always live on. Someday the seagull will fly high and shit on the liver bird and whichever team John is supporting this week. How do you feel about Fulham playing United next time? No, sorry, strikers, was it? Was it attacking?
No, we hadn't. I think on the midfielders, I'm going anyway. As I said, I'm going Keane and Scholes. They won it all. But yes, if we're going to talk about the filthy forwards, the couples and troubles, the iconic mixers of the Premier League, it always comes down to the forwards, and there's many iconic partnerships. Because I know where Gary's going to go, so we can pass by him for a moment.
I think I know where Gary's going to go.
Blah blah blah.
Really? Where is Gary going to go?
I know 2 names of 2 very naughty men, and if I remember correctly, they both played for Liverpool, and they were very naughty and got lots of attention, and probably were very good footballers. But I don't know if they played there at the same time. One of them was a hungry fella. I was going to say Suarez and your man Balotelli.
No, they were never.
They were never. No. It's a pity. That would have been fun, I imagine.
He was City at the time.
He was. Yeah. But Suarez did play there with Sterling, with Raheem, and with Daniel Sturridge, and that was just sexy to watch when they played well. To be fair, not so great if you're a Norwich fan or a Spurs fan, because they tended to really take their shit out on that.
Let me rattle off some iconic forward partnerships, because there's going to be this is a speed run if I can do this. So we're going to go. You're going to have Sutton Shearer. You're going to have Shearer, Les Ferdinand. You're going to have York and Cole. You're going to have Fowler and Michael Owen. You're going to fast forward a little bit. You're going to go Rooney, Ronaldo. You're going to go Drogba, Lampard, fucking Torres, Gerrard. Let's keep on going here.
Can we get a special mention for Emile Heskey with Michael Owen?
Emile Heskey, Michael Owen, of course. You are going to have Hasselbank and Zola. You're going to have Tevez, Ronaldo, Rooney, Berbatov. You're going to have Berbatov and Robbie Keane, Crouchy and Defoe. You're going to have that fucking trio that was at Liverpool, which was Firmino, Mane, Salah, and now you have Kevin De Bruyne and Erling Haaland, and of course Frank Lampard and Didier Drogba. So that's just to name a few of them. See, there's too many, and I'm sure anybody who's listened to that quite exhaustive list is going to be screaming that I missed out obvious ones.
Can I throw something in there again for the casual football noob who really loves fantasy football, which I think we occasionally talk about? I don't think anything tops Son and Kane for me. Those 2 boys, just like 10 years now, either of them.
Fucking Henry and Bergkamp. Sorry, that's another one I forgot. Apologies.
Henry and Bergkamp. Jeez.
Henry and Bergkamp.
At the same time. Fucking hell.
Yeah.
That was together, yeah.
Yeah.
Something else that.
See, there's too many. Everybody's going to have their preference here.
Yeah. Overall, for me, I actually would go with Lampard and Drogba. And it kills me to say that.
Kills me to say. Salah, Mane, Firmino triad.
Yeah, purely because Drogba and Lampard did it over a longer period of time. They did it in a team where creativity was stifled by the way Jose would set the team up. Lampard is not a striker. Fine. I'm not. If we're talking about just epic partnerships, regardless of position, you're not going to get better than those two. They dragged Chelsea kicking and screaming to multiple trophies. They really, really did. Drogba in particular, he was just an animal. But from a fantasy football perspective, I think, Jimmy, you're right to go back to your Kane and Son piece. Those two boys over the last couple of years before Kane went and started playing in Germany, they were nailed on for super, super points hauls every year because of the way they played together. They really, really were. Even to the point where they would take someone like Lucas Moura and make him a decent acquisition because he knew he'd get some of those points off the back of those two boys.
Yeah.
We gave him an awful doing, and he deserved it.
Do you know what? I do think it's hard to look past those two because I looked something up earlier on because it might be questions in the quiz. Drogba and Lampard had 36 goal involvements for each other, like goals and assists for the pair.
Over how many seasons?
Over the timeline they played together. But like, what was
That's
very
all 4 or 5 seasons.
That list is like Harry Kane and Christian Eriksen were on that list as a pair. I'm actually definitely forgetting some like an Alan Smith and Viduka or something.
Actually, Alan Smith and Viduka for Leeds. Harry Kewell
out on the left hand side.
With Viduka.
I just heard the ghost of Dermot screaming in my ear that there was definitely a Leicester one, a Leeds one in there somewhere.
Yeah. And if we're talking about current season, we're talking Jacob Murphy and Isaac. 8 goal involvements for themselves this year, or between them together, whatever way you want to put it. So the current
Palmer and Jackson.
Palmer and Jackson will be the other, but they're actually behind Murphy and Isaac, believe it or not.
No, I believe it. Isaac's amazing.
He is. So current relationships, that would be they would be the two.
Yeah, actually, it would be Palmer and Jackson, but that's preference. I know the output of the Newcastle pair is better. Like personally, for me, my favorite of the Premier League duos to watch was Berbatov and Keane. So my dad's a Spurs fan, so we would have been at that time. We would have been let up late to watch Match of the Day. And Keane and Berbatov together, like watching Berbatov was insane. Like the fellow he was just
it was
bonkers. And then you had little zippy Robbie Keane fucking cartwheeling between defenders, diddly eye potato himself around the field, and the two boys just played beautifully off each other. Bergkamp and Henry was something fucking incredible to watch in their prime together. Defoe and Crouch, like they were a high Redknapp staple everywhere he went. Like
little and large
worked. So I don't want to have an answer for the forward partnerships. I think there's so many of them
there's too many of them.
Beautiful.
Tell us who you like.
Which one I pick, I will be wrong. So whichever one you want.
That's what the comments are for. The little heart for Valentine's Day, and then comment to tell us how wrong and stupid and dumb we are.
Because that's how
yours is much better. That's how the internet works.
It's always wonderfully nice.
Remember, if you're sitting at home and you're enjoying something, and then for a minute it bothers you even a little bit, you must unleash all of your bile in the comments on a stranger. It's good for you.
See you around.
It's fine. We can take it. Show how much you love us. Please do.
Jimmy.
John.
Jimmy.
John,
Gary, you're not doing the quiz this week. It's back to being my son.
No, it's back to you.
Even though Gary did a wonderful and amazing job last week.
I did a great job, Gary. That was a good one, that. It made sense, and we actually kept score, and the quizmaster knew the answers. Little thing.
Yeah. So we're going to return to the chaos this week. So, Jimmy, I want the song.
So, I think...
What are you bringing this week?
Those of you who have known me a while know that ultimately the mediocre white guy introducing a guitar was an inevitability. So, inspired by the fact that our John is going on a little trip soon, I've put this cowboy hat on backwards.
Can you not turn the cowboy hat around the right way?
That means shut up. No. This is the first time I have played a guitar in over a year. It will show. Little story about a guy called John. Oh, sorry. Just to warn you, I am doing the Woody Guthrie 20-minute spoken intro thing. Have fun with that. He's off to America soon. I want him to be okay. So I got some advice for you, John. Oh, John, don't go drinking with old Donald Trump. He'll sell you to Saudi, but won't pay you a lump. Oh, John, don't go drinking with old Donald Trump, 'cause you're just a prick, but Trump is a cunt. Do the quiz, John!
Well played, sir. Well played.
That was better than I was expecting. I was expecting washboard level country this week.
Yeah, well, you know, I'll surprise you. Next week it's going to get weird. We're doing jazz, rap, fusion, techno.
You have to stick to that now.
It's on the internet now, so you've got to do it.
Can you make a request?
Sure, you can request whatever you want. You're just not going to get it. But yeah, go for it. If people have a specific genre, they would like to
people out there, anyone watching tonight wants to make a request, I'm sure Jimmy would be happy to engage in some gangster rap.
Word.
Actually, he can, but actually, I've seen it with a few beers. He can.
Prove it.
I want German techno house.
Yeah. We can make this happen.
Next week, I want German techno house. Anyway, let's do the quiz. We all know the rules, Gary. I'm going to keep the rule that you introduced last week because it helps the chaos. Shout your name if you want to play. There will be 10 questions and 10 questions only, unless we need the bonus question, which means it's 11 questions and 11 questions only. Call your name. If I say we're back in, call your name again, and we are going to begin. I don't know the scores because I still haven't tracked them since the start of the year, but we're assuming Gary's in the lead. Let us get going. Wayne Rooney, at the tender age of 16, scored one of the most iconic goals in the Premier League. Who did he score that goal against?
Gary.
The goalkeeper. So Gary.
Oh, the goalkeeper. Sorry, not the team. Gary.
Yep.
David Seaman.
Yes. What a fantastic start! Let's go. I'm putting on a game show.
That was to be fair. To be fair, that was an absolute stunning hit.
Yeah. What a way to introduce yourself. And then
absolutely.
A couple years later, he turned into Skinhead Rooney, which is probably my favorite player to watch in the Premier League. Was Skinhead Rooney. Close question number 2. This is a closest number wins question. In 2012, Man City took the most shots in a single Premier League game against QPR. But how many was it?
Jimmy.
Yes.
21.
Okay, Gary, what's your number?
24.
Okay, so closest number wins. We are ready for the answer. It was 44.
44.
Jesus. That's one every 2 minutes.
Yeah. That was the game City needed to do the thing in that game.
Oh, that's the Aguero.
Yeah, where they just started hoping. It doesn't mean they were good shots. They were just shooting from downtown with hope at some. But 44 shots. Yes. Anyway, so that is 2-0 to Gary. Question 3. It's my favorite question. It's the career path question. Yes, I think I'm going to do this game show host vibe every week. I have played for Atletico Madrid, Liverpool, Chelsea, AC Milan, Atletico Madrid, and Sag and Tosu.
Gary.
Go on, Gary.
It's Fernando Torres.
It is Fernando Torres. This could potentially
be
question
It
number
broke my
4.
heart when he moved to Chelsea, but anyway.
Yeah. Fuck that guy.
Yeah.
Have you seen him lately, though? He is shredded.
Oh, he's ripped.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah. Wait, is he old?
What?
Is he not old now, though?
He's our level of old, if you want to call us old. He's in his 40s.
Okay, never mind. Withdrawn.
You can carry on about Tuesday, 'cause I am nowhere near that. Right, question number 4. What player has taken the most shots in the Premier League this season?
Isaac.
No.
Gary.
Call your name first, Jimmy.
Gary. Chris Wood.
No.
No,
Back
he's
in,
ahead of
call your name.
Merchant. Jimmy.
Yes.
Jackson.
No. Salah is number 3 on the list with 90 shots. So there's only 2 players ahead of him. If that helps, I'll give you one more round trip. Boys.
Cole Palmer.
No, Jimmy. I'm going to tell you the answer after Gary's turn, and you're going to all hate yourselves.
It's not Haaland, is it?
It is Haaland, and Semenyo is number 2.
Ooh.
So Haaland has 92 shots, Semenyo has 91, and Salah has 90.
Wait, that means that the whole theory that Haaland is just not being fed from the midfield is bullshit. It means he's getting the opportunities. He's just a really, really annoying, tall, oversized, rude Viking man baby.
I would
can't
assume
score for shit this season.
Start of the season as well, when they were absolutely ripping teams, and he was backing all of his goals in the first 5 games of the year.
I remember that, yeah. 12 and 5 games or something, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Question number 5. You'll enjoy this. With the League of Ireland kicking off this Friday on Valentine's Day. Actually, by the way, League of Ireland have started their own thing.
They have, actually.
Yeah. They have, yeah, fair play. Best luck to them.
Best of luck. Lol.
I want to see him do well. I want to see that.
Anyway, who
I want to see everyone do well.
The League of Ireland?
Hey, League of Ireland fans, come play our game. Jesus, John.
We get League of Ireland.
What was the question?
Yeah, what was the question?
Holders were busy giving out to me.
Oh,
the current title holders, Gary.
Jimmy.
I don't know who got there first.
I did. It was Pat.
No, they're not the current title holders. Shelburne are the current title holders.
There you go, Gary.
Oh.
Even though, to be fair, Jimmy, to be fair, you've probably seen that from a Sky Sports article, because slight tangent here. Mason Mealy, who plays for St. Pat's, is the first £1 million teenager to go from the League of Ireland to the Premier League. Has been signed by Spurs. And Sky Sports reported that he moved from Irish Premier League champion St. Patrick's Athletic. Inaccurate. Damien Duff's Shelburne team won it last year at the last day of the season. With an 85th minute winner against Derry City.
I think
Next
a
week
forgivable
League of Ireland
inaccuracy from everyone's favorite news channel. We can let them get that one wrong because they're so great.
Oh, they always make sure they check their sources.
Actually, Gary, just to interrupt the quiz, we're going to talk League of Ireland next week because there's some stuff I actually want to get into with you. I know this disturbs the quiz momentarily, but have you heard of the new 3rd division that's coming into the Irish League?
Oh, I have.
Yes.
The North Conference and the South Conference. Let's have that discussion. I love it.
The junior integration into the League of Ireland, which is going to be a beautiful thing for my level of teams. The chance to actually get into potentially first division, which is kind of cool. I think there's 2 teams from Limerick that are going to set up this. We'll get into that with you next week. But you've also got Treaty back in action on Friday night in the first division. And yeah, Gary, I think we're going to have a good chat about League of Ireland next week with it being back on Friday.
I like it. I like it a lot.
Sorry, Jimmy. You're going to actually, Jimmy, Friday, not this Friday because Valentine's, next Friday, I'm going to take you to your first football match out in Treaty on a Friday evening.
Okay.
Sorry, you're roped now. Anyway, question 6 in the quiz. Seamus Coleman, also known as the greatest pound-for-pound signing in the Premier League era, signed for 60,000 to Everton in 2009. But who did he transfer from?
Gary.
Go on, Gary.
Waterford United?
No.
Cove.
Yeah.
Ooh.
No, as in Jimmy, go. Who did you say?
Cove.
No.
Oh.
This is another one of these ones where when you hear it, you're going to be like, balls. Are we ready for the answer? Or would Gary's head like to explode?
Was it Carlisle?
No, they're in the English second division. It was
Sligo. Yeah.
Sligo.
Oh, he did move from an Irish team. Sorry, I thought he might have gone.
Sligo £60,000. Greatest signing ever. Right. Question 7. Super Bowl was won last night by the Eagles beating the Chiefs. Get your whoop whoop in there, Gary. But who was this year's halftime show performer?
Jimmy.
Go on.
Jimmy. Thank you for putting this in. You knew I'd know. It's K-Dot, man. Like Kendrick, the fucking god Lamar.
Yeah, it was quite an impressive show.
With help from Samuel L. Jackson.
And with help from Williams, which was fucking,
Interestingly, not the first time he's performed at the halftime show.
First time he self-censored a word to avoid getting sued again, though.
Anyway, moving swiftly on. Only one goalkeeper has saved 2 Premier League penalties this season. Who is it?
Gary.
Yep.
Kelleher.
No.
Jimmy.
Yep.
Onana.
No.
Gary.
Go on.
Sells?
No.
Jimmy.
Go on.
Jose Sa.
No. We're just going to go through every goalkeeper.
I was just going to go through every fucking keeper.
We're back to being a farce, lads.
Hey, we love the chaos.
Jimmy.
Took us off track. Go on, Jimmy.
Flecken.
No.
Gary.
Yep.
Sanchez.
No. Come on now.
Yeah,
it's going well, isn't it? Would you like to carry on, or will I just put you out your misery like sad little puppies?
Put me out of your misery, John.
Jordan fucking Pickford, lads.
Oh, I refuse to answer any question where Jordan Pickford is the answer, so fuck off.
I knew the answer, but out of nothing but protest.
Yeah, no, just out of spite, I'm not answering that question.
Right, so because as I said, so we talked about this topic earlier, but we didn't actually give any numbers. Which iconic duo has the most goals and assists for each other in Premier League history?
Gary.
Yep.
Sutton and Shearer.
No.
Jimmy.
Yep.
Rooney and Ronaldo.
No.
Just two players. We're talking just 2 players, obviously.
Yeah, 2 players between each other. Yeah.
Jimmy.
Yeah.
York and Cole.
No. I have the top 3 here, and it's not even remotely surprising when you hear them.
Well, nothing is it?
Gary.
Not really.
Shearer and Ferdinand?
No.
Who's back in? Are we both back in?
I haven't named any of the top 3 here, by the way.
I've got nothing.
Lampard and Drogba.
Lampard and Drogba was second with 36.
Am I going to kick myself over this, John?
Oh, you're both going to hate yourselves for this. I'm going to give you the answer now, though, because Gary, you have won the quiz. The answer was with 47, might I add, Kane and Son. You proud of yourselves now, boys? And Henry and Perez was third. Right,
we literally waxed lyrical about them for 5 minutes.
We're idiots.
And the last question is: Tom Brady is a part owner of which English Football League club?
Gary.
Yep.
Birmingham City.
Yep. Gary wins the quiz. I don't know about how many, but I know he's won it probably 61. So I don't know.
Well, John, considering it was a quiz about football where the only question I managed to get right was Kendrick Lamar.
Yep.
I think we're past points.
Yeah.
Honestly, a Kendrick podcast, I'm here for it. I'm just saying, the option is there. I love that, man.
Iconic songs from sporting events like Shakira.
Ooh.
Waka waka.
Yeah. Janet Jackson, Justin Timberlake.
iconic acrobatic strikes like Eric Cantona and that guy at Crystal Palace that time. I think it might be my favorite moment in football history, like genuinely.
Jimmy, before we go, do you want to do the whole Statter update and closing us out? Send us all to home to bed in a nice, happy manner.
I mean, attentive listeners who are insane enough to listen to us regularly realize there was no league update this week because there's been no games. We're in a gap between our last podcast and Everton Liverpool tomorrow night. In terms of the business, stuff is fucking happening fast, man. There's all sorts of cool stuff going on. We are plugging away on getting that app built so we can get it to you as soon as we can, and keep eyes peeled and join the waiting list so that we can let you know how soon you can get stuck in. Obviously we have capacity issues starting out, so we want to get them hardcore nerds in first, see how this I want you to put us through our paces, see how the gear runs. Also, John, as alluded to earlier, this year will be representing us, and that thought scares me as much as it does you. He's going stateside, lads. He's going out west.
I will be on New York on Paddy's Day drinking green pints and talking to people in the States.
But not drinking with you-know-who, because he is a you-know-what.
Yes.
And I already regret using that word live.
But anyway, Statrdraft.com. We are the Statrcast, Statter Draft, Statter app. It's all Stattering and Statter coming. That's not the greatest sign off, but anyway, go read the website, go sign up to the waiting list, go read some blogs and shit. There's some nice things.
Hold on. We forgot something really important.
What?
There's only one game on tomorrow night, and I'm going to call it now. Everton 2, Liverpool 1.
Cool. On that note, good luck. We're out. Bye, Gary. Let you